Hey, hello everyone. This is Shane Hoffman with the American Solidarity Presidential Primary Committee. I'm here today interviewing one of our candidates for the ASP nomination for President of the United States of America, Dr. Jacqueline Abernathy. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm just going to apologize in advance that we have a viral bronchitis running through the household. And so I might mute myself and hopefully I'll be able to mute myself before coughing, but there might be some coughing in the middle. So I've been battling that. Otherwise, we're doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing great. Got one with a fever in the house too, so I feel you for what's going on over there. All right, let's go ahead and start in. We are post debate one at the moment. Is there anything you'd like to quickly clear up from that first debate?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, I would. I am incredibly relieved that before we ended everything after the debate had ended, but before we all signed off, that Erskine Levi was given a chance to correct how he misspoke. Because I'd really hate for nothing. I don't need to correct anything like that where he said pro euthanasia where he clearly meant anti euthanasia. But I'm so glad that you offer the chance for people to correct things because we're human and we make mistakes. There was not a situation where I misspoke, but there are two instances in some follow-up questions that I've been getting where clearly I didn't communicate very well. So the first thing that I want to communicate better on is that when I told the story about somebody that had reached out to me saying that they were now going to be joining the party, they were now ready to join the party, but they had some reservations. And one of the reservations was that they work in the oil and gas industry, and the party plank on fracking was something that had kept them away, even though they agreed with us on everything else, more important, literally vital life and death things, right? And so the point I was trying to make was just that I feel like what unites us is stronger than what divides us. And it makes the most sense for us as a party strategically to focus on the bigger issues and not risk losing support over those smaller tertiary issues. But I had been getting questions. Whoa, so you're okay with fracking? What's going on there? No, I can absolutely support the party platform when it comes to environmentalism. In fact, if anything, if I'm going to alienate people, I want to alienate people for the right reasons, to the most accurate reasons that accurately reflect my values. If anything, my values when it comes to environmental policy are stronger than that we just need to do things to entice and induce people to be good stewards of the environment. I feel like the climate crisis has gotten so far out of hand that, tax incentives and things of that nature, just trying to compel people to do the right thing apparently is not enough, because we are still rapidly headed toward the point of no return. So no, I am completely on board with the party platform when it comes to environmentalism. If anything, my personal convictions on those are stronger than the platform suggests. I don't think that we should be campaigning on those because, like I said, we need to campaign on like the bigger issues and what sets us apart from Republicans and Democrats, and that is that we collectively oppose any destruction of human life across the board. And so I wanted to clarify that no, I am not pro-fracking. That was mainly the one thing that I wanted to communicate. And there was something else, but you know what? Of course, it would escape me. Can't remember what the other thing was. Oh, I do recall now. Sorry. There were some people that pointed out that you cannot have a presidential candidate and a running mate from the same state. And as a political science professor, you think I would have known that? That does not reflect too well on me. But Mary Keller Fitz, Dr. Fitz, has already declined. So that's a non-issue. Unfortunately, she has family issues where she can't serve in that capacity. So I want to let you know that now. Thank you for educating me. I'm aware of that. And that Dr. Fitz is not interested and able to serve in that capacity. So those are the two things. Thank you for giving me the chance to clear that up.
You're welcome. Now, moving into the questions. This is one built off an experience I had, and early in my first campaign, it was suggested to me that a campaign can have as broad an array of issues as you want, but you really need to have at most 3 key campaign issues. As close to an elevator speech as you can get, what are the 3 core pieces of your campaign?
Primarily, the 3 core pieces are focusing on the nonviolent, consistent life ethic that we exclusively promote, that sets us apart from every other party on the ballot. And unless there is a consistent life party that I just happen to not be aware of, every other party that I've seen with ballot access anywhere is not consistent life. They are in favor of some sort of violence for some arbitrary reason. Like, for example, when I was looking for a non-duopoly pro-life protest vote, I ended up voting in 2012 and 2016, before I knew about ASP, for a party that was an abortion abolitionist party, meaning that they were opposed to any regulations except for completely outlawing abortion, period, which at the time, Roe v. Wade made that impossible. It was just not possible for a state to completely outlaw abortion or for a president to do that. But I wanted to make it really clear with my vote why I was voting and why that I was making it clear that I did not feel like the options were pro-life. So my campaign issues would be, you don't make people dead, first and foremost, being the only candidate on the ballot that you can vote for without blood on your hands. There's that. The second would be, human dignity is immutable. It is a human right, and it applies to all humans. By virtue of being human, you have the right to it. And that this is not a right imbued upon people for having the good fortune of being born in the United States. This applies to asylum seekers, foreigners, migrant workers, just as much as it applies to American citizens. So there's the pro-life, legitimately pro-life, actually pro-life, completely pro-life. Then there's the human dignity aspect. But the third hallmark of my campaign is that pro-life is pro-woman. And the reason why I think that that's important is that there's a narrative that has been pushed for the longest time that associates abortion with women's equality, that women cannot be equal unless we have the ability to cease to be pregnant, because pregnancy, puts us at a disadvantage to men, and men don't have these disadvantages. Therefore, we have to be able to be like men at any moment. A true equality would be respecting us the way we are, and especially respecting us the way we are, considering how there is no next generation, there is no human being that ever came into the world without a woman carrying that human being. So pro-life is pro-woman. I want to focus on busting the stereotype that being anti-abortion means not believing in women's equality, and that it somehow inhibits a woman from being successful. And I believe that my own life, the way I have been able to achieve everything that I've been able to achieve without violence, without abortion, means that I have my money where my mouth is, and I testify just by existing to the fact that women do not need abortion. And I feel like it's really important that pro-life, pro-woman aspect is incredibly important, because it challenges all of the misconceptions and stereotypes that pro-life parties just believe in keeping women in their place, in subjugating women underneath men controlling women's bodies, and people putting unborn babies above women. My campaign is meant to counter that. And it's incredibly important also in this political climate post-Roe, because we have been poisoned. There's always some degree of poisoning that comes with our positions being associated with the duopoly in either way. But when it comes to abortion, having Donald Trump at the helm and having the mainstream pro-life movement defend all of the misogynistic, openly, overtly nasty, sexist things he's done, including sexual assault. Oh, it's just locker room talk. And talking about how he would jail women for having abortions just because he thought that that's what his new pro-life base wanted to hear. And then the pro-life base had to turn around and scramble to correct that, because that's never been something we did. I think it's very important to reclaim the integrity of our message, that it is not choosing between a mother or a child, that women and children are not natural enemies, they're natural allies. And women should not be forced to choose between themselves and their kids. And any society that suggests that in order to be equal, we have someone else, including our own flesh and blood, is a society where things are inherently unequal. So that was longer than an elevator speech, but those are the 3 highlights of my campaign.
All right, thank you. Now, moving on to the next question. After the first debate, one of the things I heard from several people is that it was a little difficult after the debate to tell one candidate from another, that you all seemed fairly interchangeable, maybe outside of some background experience. Can you give our audience something significant about the Abernathy campaign that makes you more than the generic pelican?
Well, one of these things is not like the other. There's the obvious benefits when it comes to credibility on the predominant pro-life issue, which is abortion, by having a woman who is the spokesperson about human dignity, that can't just be easily dismissed with no uterus, no opinion. Of course, abortion is a human rights issue, and the whole no uterus, no opinion is meant to dismiss completely valid opinions on abortion. However, if we can skirt that, if we can shut that down, and the legitimate extra credibility that comes with a woman being the person to give the message that abortion hurts women, not only do we not need it in order to be equal, it actually gets in the way of equality. Telling women that, oh, you're equal now because you can have an abortion and therefore immediately have the same opportunities men have. Well, that certainly is a cheaper, easier cop-out than actually providing accommodations so that we can have those same opportunities while still functioning as women. It's no surprise that we don't have maternity leave in this country and we don't have other supports, when we're just expected, if you want to succeed, that we just should get rid of our babies. The problem is that 86% of women become mothers anyway. And not quite half of the workforce, but over half of the population, 51% of the population, are female. And you think that that would be enough, where it wouldn't be demanding special rights, or wouldn't be accommodating some sort of fringe or minority group. There's so many women, and yet we do not have that basic right, that is considered just unheard of for us not to have it. And we're the only industrialized nation that doesn't have it. So what sets me apart is that I can speak on those issues that I think that are important. I think it's also important to dispel all of the myths associated with the pro-life being anti-woman. What makes me different is I'm the only candidate that has an advanced degree, a postgraduate degree, actually, specifically in this issue in public administration and management. I'm the only one with federal policy experience. I'm the only one with foreign policy experience. We have some candidates that have actually served in office, in lower offices, in local offices like school board, city council, I believe the state representative level, things like that. But I believe that my experience being solicited for policy analyses from attorneys general in different states, for my amicus brief to the Supreme Court, for example, affecting religious freedom issues, in my foreign policy experience, I feel like that's something that sets me apart. But mostly it's not anything about my accomplishments, it's not anything about my credibility. I feel like those are good. I feel like those help us to be taken seriously as a third party because it's so easy to dismiss us. The thing that really sets me apart is that I believe that I can command enough media attention by being different, by challenging stereotypes and being newsworthy and being a pro-life woman running for president. Oh, and she's a pro-life woman, she must, be barefoot and pregnant, right? Well, no, she's actually got a PhD. She's actually a former professor. I feel like those things and my connection with all of the national organizations I've worked with and pro-life feminists are what we need for me to go about achieving my goal of campaign matching funds at the federal level and having a war chest of over $200,000 for us to work with, which is substantially more than what we had last time. I didn't think it even broke 20,000 the last campaign, and I'm aiming for over 200,000. So that's what sets me apart.
All right. Let's move on to question 4 here. It's important to present the party well as our nominee. Many members want to see a candidate who upholds our platform naturally. Other candidates are more willing to see wiggle room with the candidate not being 100% on board. If you do have areas where you differ, how do you plan to handle that on the campaign trail? Do you dive right in? Do you deflect? What do you do, particularly if asked a direct question that would highlight this?
Well, the good news is there are no areas where I differ. There are areas where I believe that the platform definitely needs refining and that the platform as written gives a false impression about who we are and what we stand for. For example, I believe in traditional marriage. I believe in natural law and marriage being centered around the good of children. It exists for the man and the woman in marriage, committed for life, giving the stability that kids need to have a daily relationship with the two people that made them. That's important to me. So I don't support same-sex marriage because, by nature, that's not revolving around children. That's not children focused. And I felt like at the time before Obergefell, I felt like that was getting even further and further away from the reform that I wanted to see when it came to restoring marriage to one that protected the rights of children instead of being an at-will contract where people could just get out so easily, and all of the destruction and the casualties to children's rights that causes. So I don't disagree with the platform when it comes to same-sex marriage. However, I would like to see it reformed in a way that does not appear to be discriminatory against unnatural families. Because we talk about the natural family. Okay, well, if a gay family, that exists, they get married legally, civilly, and they adopt a child through social services or use artificial reproductive technology, or maybe from a prior relationship, there's another child. There's children involved, right? I do not want anyone to misperceive us as discriminating against those families, as thinking that those families are not just as deserving of support as traditional families are. So I would like to see that reformed. I also certainly agree with the plank when it comes to that life-altering hormone surgeries, transgender surgeries, not being performed on minors. Like, of course, I don't feel like a child is capable of consenting to something that significant. And then it said also against the will of the parents. And like, oh yeah, well, definitely, I'm definitely opposed to that as well. So I completely agree with that. But I believe that plank as well is problematic because it sends a very dangerous message that we are uninformed and we really think that this is a problem, that there's a problem with kids getting sex changes against their parents' will, and that this is something that really, really happens. Typically by the time someone is able to get even the first part of gender surgery, they are no longer minors. So that's something that I feel like is, I'm going to borrow a phrase from Bill Fleming, needlessly antagonistic. And I'd hate to see people that otherwise support the party see that and believe that we're uneducated and that we believe this is really something that happens. Or worse, that we are okay with all of the targeted propaganda, anti-trans youth bills that are being pushed in state legislatures that tend to be just using these youth as political props, and I feel doing a lot of damage. So those are things that I would like to see changed. But if anyone asks, do I have any disagreements with the platform? The answer would be no. I agree with the platform completely on everything. Internally, there are things that I think that we should fine tune, but if that's brought up, then I have no problem whatsoever talking about my personal beliefs on it. But I do support the platform, and I will always publicly, as much as possible, go back to the platform and how I support it.
All right. Now we're moving into a section that is questions directly submitted by members. First question, members submitted. About how many people have volunteered to support your campaign in the ASP presidential primary? And what sort of activities are they doing for your campaign? What approach will you take to recruiting volunteers for your general election campaign if you are the nominee?
Well, I have been incredibly blessed, and it's so heartening we have a Facebook chat that just got so overwhelmed with people offering to volunteer and wanting to support the campaign that it turned, into we need a better platform for this. We have, I don't want to call out names because I certainly don't know if they would like to be known publicly. I can't see why not. A lot of them have publicly endorsed me, but still. I have people working on, I have a professional graphic designer that helps with the website, that helps with media and things of that nature. I have campaign professionals that have worked on other campaigns that help advise when it comes to strategies for recruitment and messaging and things of that nature to make sure that my blunt honesty does not come across in the wrong way, because that's the last thing I want. As far as numbers go, I know I have recruited at least a dozen people just to join the party by telling them about my campaign, by telling them that I was running. And one of the not quite the most recent recruits at Mass today, I got two new recruits, but before that said, okay, how can I volunteer with your campaign? And their husband happens to have a significant Twitter following, and he is also completely on board. And so he and she plan to focus on making sure that my message gets out via Twitter. So when it comes to numbers and formal volunteers, endorsements and things of that nature, we're easily approaching, we're well over a dozen. I wouldn't say that we're 24, but we're easily approaching, the mid to high 20s, 15 and up at least. I'm sorry, I should have an exact number for you, but I don't.
All right. With the next question, also members submitted. If you are not the nominee, will you support the nominee in any fashion, such as vice president, running another race in support of the party and the presidential campaign? Or is there some other way that you would remain involved and support the nominee?
This is, by the way, a great question. And although I don't necessarily believe in the whole concept of litmus tests, if there were litmus tests, this would be a good one. But the reason why I don't believe in litmus tests is specifically because of what I'm about to tell you. Here's why I think it is a good indicator of whether or not someone's willing to support the party, even if they're not nominated. First and foremost, whether I am the nominee or not, I am still fully supporting the nominee. I still intend to vote for the nominee. I still intend to donate. I'm going to rock their last name on a bumper sticker on my minivan. There's going to be a yard sign with their name out front. I'm going to enthusiastically support whoever the nominee is because I support the party. In fact, I wouldn't be running if it wasn't because I support the party and because I didn't think it would be good for the party for the things that I think that I uniquely can bring to the table here. So there's that. So I think it's a really good litmus test to say, will you support the nominee or not? Because somebody that's not going to support the nominee, I feel like that's a sign that either somebody has, some sort of self-serving personal agenda going on, that they're not necessarily in this for the party, but they're in it for themselves. And that's not what we need. We need somebody that's in this for the right reasons. So I agree with that. And also, I would agree if everyone were male that's running, I would agree with the VP thing as well, that the person coming in second would be great to be on the ticket to show everybody that voted for that person that their vote counts and that is being represented to the rest of the world as part of the party. And if the second place person is a male, then it doesn't matter. If the second place person is myself, it does. And the reason why it does matter is specifically because of all the stereotypes that I've spoken with you about earlier today. I am running because I believe that I'm offering the option to vote for me and all the benefits I think are associated with voting for me for the party and all the marketing benefits and campaign finance things that I can bring to the table. And if the party decides that they're going to choose someone else, they prefer someone else, then I will get behind whoever they choose. However, I think serving as VP would completely be counterproductive to what I'm trying to do here, which is show that pro-life is pro-woman and that anti-abortion pro-life parties like ours are pro-woman. Because I feel like having a woman in the VP spot, well, first of all, it doesn't give us any marketing advantage. It's been done. And in every other case where it's been done, there weren't a crop of newcomers. It was very clear why the person that was chosen for VP was legitimately outranked by a person that was chosen as the nominee. That is not clear here. I feel like it would, raise some questions for, okay, so, this is a pro-life party. And why do we have, Dr. Abernathy as the running mate, and then we have someone else when she's, perhaps arguably more qualified than that other person? Doesn't that just look bad on us? The optics of that, I feel, are very, very poor. It doesn't bring any marketing advantages, and I think it brings some disadvantages. So I would not be willing to serve as VP, and it's not because I have an ego issue. In fact, my whole campaign, the reason I'm in this race at all was because, I was asked if I would run for president, and I said, no, I'm never going to run against my fellow Pelicans. We got plenty of options here. I'm just going to support them. And then someone said, well, how about VP? And then I thought about it. And when I thought about it, and I thought about the political climate, that's when I realized, darn, we have this problem if we have yet another all-male ticket too, right? We have to have the option of having, for the first time ever, a female presidential candidate if we're going to thwart and counteract all of the misinformation and propaganda against pro-life parties like ours. So that's why I'm running. And so in short, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to support the candidate completely. Running for VP, I care about the party too much to do that. I feel like that would be a bad idea. It would just not a good idea. So I intend to donate. I intend to do everything that we expect all of our Pelicans to do. And then anything more that I could possibly do, happy to do that as well. VP is just something I don't think I can do for the good of the party.
All right. And last item. Do you have any closing remarks for undecided voters or folks who haven't yet become voting members?
Yes, I do. And what I would like people to consider is that there are so many things that we are taking into consideration when we determine who we are going to pick to represent us as our presidential nominee. And those are good faith, legitimate concerns about how well each option represents you. I might not represent you as well as somebody that doesn't share my values about wanting more stringent environmental protections. I might not represent you in that I feel like we need to be rewording the platform in a way that is more inclusive. So there are ways that I might not represent you very well. You and I might not be eye to eye on that. But what is most important here is not policy priorities and ideas and how we would implement things. What's most important and what the best thing for us to consider and keep in mind when we're choosing a candidate is, can this person grow the party? Can this person bring in new members? Can this person finance their campaign? Does this person have a viable strategy and a good strategy where we can keep growing? Because we only have this opportunity once every 4 years to mobilize behind one person and one message. Does the candidate that you are thinking about supporting, do they have a message? And do they have a strategy that you think would fulfill that purpose the way I have a strategy to fulfill that purpose? Do you feel like maybe perhaps their strategy is superior to mine in some way? If that's true, then I fully encourage you to vote how you see fit. But I just want to make sure that when we're making decisions on who to vote for, that we keep our eyes on what's most important. And that is party growth, messaging, inclusion, and our ability to use the free press that we only get every presidential cycle in order to find those politically homeless voters that are out there looking for us. We have to take advantage of this opportunity. And if we don't, it's gone. It's gone forever. And then we have to wait. 4 years later, there'll be another one. So whoever we choose can either grow the party significantly, or they can not grow the party as much as I feel like I can grow the party. But I just encourage everybody to consider asking their candidate about what their strategy is, what their campaign finance goals are, et cetera, and making that an important aspect of your decision making when it comes to casting your vote.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Abernathy. We have the next debate coming up this weekend, I believe April 29th at 9 p.m. I look forward to seeing you there, and good luck.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.